Hello, hello, and welcome into another episode of Popcorn for Breakfast with your wonderful, magnificent co-host, Kirk. Kirk, where are you?
Hey, I'm talking
There's
now.
Kirk.
It's been quite a long time since I've accidentally stayed muted, but here I am. I'm here.
Here we are. That's right. That's a good sign. It's like bad intro, good outro. That's what we say in the podcast biz. It's like bad rehearsal, good show.
Yeah.
You don't get rehearsals in the live streaming biz. You just go. So sometimes weird things happen. But here we are, Monday night, Popcorn for Breakfast. We are on the stream. If you are watching on the stream or if you're going to join the stream, thank you for being here. And if you're listening as a podcast, we thank you for being here as well. We've got really a huge amount of things to cover today. I think this is the thing that always catches me off guard every year with the Super Bowl is I forget that it's kind of a movie holiday in a way. Like when you think of the Super Bowl, you never think about movies, but then you realize that it's also like the biggest advertising event of the year, like a traditional media advertising event. And you go, oh yeah, the biggest movies of the year are for sure going to use this spot to shine a light. This year, the Super Bowl was broadcast on NBC, so we got lots of Peacock trailers, lots of trailers for the new show Bel Air, lots of content alluding to Law and Order returning, lots of NBC.
Are you sure?
Centric.
I didn't see anything about Law and Order
You didn't
at all.
You missed that?
Yeah.
You must have been filling up the plate at that time. They only did it, let's say 37 times, I think, throughout the broadcast. Same with Bel Air. It's like at the beginning of the Super Bowl, I'm like, yeah, I'll watch Bel Air. By the end of the Super Bowl, I'm like, there is not a single chance that I'm turning that on. Which may or may not be true.
Attacked by it that you could not bear to see it. You basically saw the whole plot through all of the advertisements.
Right. Yeah, it's rough. Anytime I'm always like, oh, who's got it this year? I think Fox is the worst. If Fox has it, I mean, now I guess I don't know how that works with Disney Fox. There were some things that Disney didn't get, and I don't know that they got any of like the news stations, so I don't know that they would get any of the like Super Bowl advertising space or whatever. But like if it's Fox just advertising their network television shows, oh, that is worst case. Like that's really bad. Followed by NBC and then probably CBS, because CBS is Viacom and they have some good stuff. You know, they're Paramount. They've got all that. So NBC, it could have been worse. Could have been Fox, but we still got peppered with tons of Peacock content and Law and Order returning for, what did you say, Kirk? Is it its 21st season?
Something like that. I've forgotten the number already, even though I just looked it up yesterday. But what I do remember is that the last season of the OG Law and Order was in 2009. Okay.
Yeah.
And then they took a hard break. And they're back. They're coming in strong in 2022.
Yeah, and was Anthony Edwards in the original cast of that show?
No. Sam Waterston was, though.
Yeah, Sam Waterston was.
Is Anthony Edwards in this one?
No. Am I saying the right name?
Oh, Anthony Anderson.
Anthony Anderson. Sorry, I said Anthony Edwards. Anthony
That's
Anderson. Okay. He wasn't in the original Law and Order either.
He was not. And I do not believe he ever made any kind of regular character appearances on it at all. This is a brand new breath into the Law and Order series.
Interesting. Well, I thought he was going to flap his wings a little bit higher than Law and Order after his success on Blackish and the few films that he's been in, but we are.
He is really incredible. It's quite a shock to see him. I don't want to say take a step back, but I mean maybe there's something we don't know. Maybe he is the genius who brought it back to coming in hard here. Sorry, my face is frozen on my screen.
Yeah, you're frozen.
Okay, cool.
It's okay. I can still hear you, and everything's fine. So you're just frozen, and we're just gonna.
For those of you on the stream, I'm actually conducting my practice round of ventriloquy. This is where I think that.
This is where I think that I should try it out.
That was pretty good, Kirk.
Hey, thanks.
That was like I'm kind of like taken aback by what you just did, because I didn't know that skill was in your repertoire, but that's incredible.
Well sometimes when my anxiety keeps me up late at night, I just try my hand in ventriloquy.
Perfect. All right. But so we got lots of NBC Peacock content. We also got big trailers. I think the big four, there were four big ones. Maybe these were the only four trailers they even showed, but there are four that have stuck in my memory. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which that one is kind of halvesies because they showed a teaser. They showed a teaser, like a 30-second TV spot right at the beginning of the Super Bowl. And then at the end of it, it said the full trailer's online now. So then you had to go to the online to watch the trailer. But I was still counting that. Then there was Jurassic World Dominion, which is the same trailer that got released earlier this week. They just like premiered it at the Super Bowl. So I think a lot of like the diehards had already seen it. We got Nope, which is the new film from Jordan Peele. Looks very interesting. We'll talk about that. And then we're also going to talk about The Rings of Power, Lord of the Rings. The first teaser trailer. It was about a minute-long TV spot we got for that. So we're going to use part of our show today to go through all of those, react to them. There's lots to talk about. With some of those, there's tons to talk about, namely Doctor Strange. And then also the Oscar nominations came out last week. So if that's the afterthought of the week, then you know that it was a big week. But right after our stream last week, Tuesday morning, the Oscar nominations were revealed. So we're going to dive into that as well. Quick programming note for you. We will not have a movie review episode this week. We're just doing What's Poppin', and then we'll be back at you next week with a movie review. And we are thinking it will be Uncharted. That's the plan as it stands. So if you're planning on going to the movie theater this weekend, you should consider seeing Uncharted because I think there's a good chance that we'll be there doing the same thing so that we can review it for the podcast. But before we get into that, Kirk, it's also Valentine's Day. I forgot about that.
Happy Valentine's Day, Cam.
I should have changed the backdrop to have little hearts all over it instead of popcorn kernels. But frankly, I forgot until today. And then I was like, Kirk, we should do Schoolyard pick of Rom-Coms. And so we're going to do that because as it turns out, we already did Celebrity Couples. I want to go back and listen to that one to see
if
it's still accurate. And if somebody put Will and Jada, that's gotta, after the Red Table Talk, that's gotta get pulled. That they're no longer on the list, in my opinion. But yeah, so we're gonna do Schoolyard pick of Rom-Coms, which should be very interesting because that's a genre I feel is one of my weakest in terms of viewing. I feel so I grew up with two older sisters, so I watched a lot when I was in the house with them. But since then, almost none. So it will be very interesting. Kirk, how do you feel about your rom-com exposure, knowledge, acumen?
Big rom-com exposure growing up, and even in my college years, because there's just a lot of random free time, right, in college.
Yeah, sure.
But I don't know what's classified as a rom-com anymore. In 2022, I have a very big idea of when rom-coms came to light, when the genre was created. I was there. I've seen things, but I don't know what it exists like today.
Yeah, I feel like the late 90s, early 2000s was sort of the golden age of what most people think of as a rom-com. And I feel like nowadays, in general, genres are bending, and it's hard to know where one line ends and another begins, etc. It's really hard to find true comedies anymore. Right. I always think about that, the Tommy Boys, the Happy Gilmores, that stuff just isn't around really. Even Superbad, 40-Year-Old Virgin, that stuff just doesn't really exist in that form anymore. And I feel like the same could be said for rom-coms, but we'll get into it. We'll dive deep into it and talk about the genre. It should be competitive. Schoolyard pick of rom-coms. We'll get into it. But first, Kirk, I want to jump into What's Poppin'. Let's do it. That's not the right sound.
I was getting ready to dance.
You were dancing. You were like, let's go. All right. So first up, we're not going to talk Super Bowl. We're going to bury that for a second. We're going to talk about the Oscars. Because the Oscar nominations dropped Tuesday morning. And on the last episode, if you listened, we gave our predictions. And I think, Kirk, you did the math and found out that, what was it? You got 5 out of 10 correct.
That's right. And you had 7.
And I got 7.
Bravo.
So we both did pretty good, I feel like, because there are some in here that I feel like people were not expecting, and there were some in here that people were definitely expecting. But let's talk Best Picture category first. I want to talk about some of the big categories. We can talk about surprises, snubs, etc. But I definitely want to talk about the big categories. So for Best Picture, we got Belfast, Coda, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. So right off the bat, for most people in the country, Drive My Car has not come to a theater near them until this past weekend. It released in like 150 cinemas nationwide. I haven't gotten a chance to see it yet. It will be on HBO Max March 2nd, which is about 3 weeks before the Oscars. But most people have not seen that movie, and most people have not seen Licorice Pizza because it's not available to stream, and it was in theaters limited release around Christmas, and I believe it's sort of back in theaters now for a second go around. But the others have been around, and frankly, those are the two that I haven't seen, and I believe that's the same for you, Kirk.
That's right.
So we can't really speak much to those. But as far as the others in this category, or even just generally speaking, like what was left out, what got in that shouldn't have, what are your thoughts, Kirk?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's really the hodgepodge of the delta that you and I had of the loss of what was going to go in and what wasn't.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
We kind of had the general feel for it. Drive My Car is totally out of left field. Don't know about that at all. But everything else, we called all other 9 of the nominees there.
What's really impressive about Drive My Car, and what makes me really interested to see it, is that it is, first of all, it's a foreign film. It's a Japanese film, which is not unheard of, but it's pretty rare. I think Kurosawa was the last Japanese director to have a film nominated for Best Picture. But you think about Parasite and Bong Joon-ho. Well, the thing with Bong Joon-ho is that he was there was a lot of noise going on around him, like
Right.
Good positive momentum building for him leading up to Parasite. Like he had already had a bunch of really big movies that were starting to make major waves and like get theatrical releases in the US, like Snowpiercer, The Host, etc. Before Parasite came out. So he already had that really going. And this time that's not really the case. The other thing is this movie didn't, there's a lot of politics and marketing that goes into films getting nominated for Best Picture. You might hear of these like for your consideration campaigns. This film didn't do any of that. It just was good, I guess. Like the critics liked it, and it got so much positive buzz, and it got submitted, and people watched it, and they were like, "This is good." So that alone is pretty impressive and really piques my interest.
Yeah, if you can be that powerful of a film without any campaigning, any kind of debut film into the American market, I mean, you've got a home run story. Then you have a chance for getting in just like that. I can't remember which actress it was, but she tweeted something along the lines of, "I watched Drive My Car and it absolutely wrecked me," pun intended. But I think it was genuine that they were sincerely like just destroyed over how powerful the content was. So yeah, I gotta say that I'm anxious to get my hands on that movie for us to watch.
Yeah, definitely. And other things in the category, I mean, for me, I have not been shy. Don't Look Up. I am at a loss for words as to how that movie gets nominated. I think that obviously film, I was talking to a friend about this, like obviously film and film appreciation and reviewing and critiquing is completely subjective. But there are certain aspects of that film that are objectively bad.
Yes.
I really feel like there are certain, like, as a narrative, I feel like it's bad. It's not a good narrative. And as a satire, I feel like it's bad. And that's the two things that movie is. So I really don't get that. And in a year where you could have had 10 nominees, and there was so much competitive parity, we talked about it last week, there was no movie that's just like sprinting away from the field. Like there really is a really good mix of competitive films. Giving that film a spot, and I think it also got nominated for screenplay, that to me is just like unacceptable. I really can't wrap my head around that at all. I think that's a joke.
Right. Do you want to talk snubs real quick? In
I
Best
do,
Picture?
yeah, because what movies did that did that film or any others take the spot of?
So 3 to 4 movies come to mind. 3 to 4. So
Yep.
first of which being Tick Tick Boom.
Oh, for sure, for
The
sure.
second of being The Eyes of Tammy Faye. We have not reviewed
Hmm.
that movie, but wow, watched that recently. And I would even say being The Ricardos. Being The
Okay.
Ricardos. I would have put all 3 of those above Don't Look Up in
Oh,
regular ratings, regular scores.
for sure. I haven't seen The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Being the Ricardos is one that a lot of people thought was going to get nominated, myself included. I included it on my list last week whenever we talked about it. I was surprised not to see that, especially because in the other acting categories, you got Javier Bardem getting a nomination, which surprised a lot of people.
Yes.
It was not a given for his performance, and then also like everybody expected Nicole Kidman to get nominated, but she did. She got nominated. So your two leading actors get nominated. It's an Aaron Sorkin film. He typically does pretty good with the Academy, and they didn't get nominated. I feel like Spider-Man: No Way Home is the other big miss, and I'll fight
Yes.
somebody on this. Like I I get it. Like people squirm at the idea of like an overpopular superhero movie getting nominated for awards, but look at the slate of films this year. I just don't think there's a compelling argument that there are 10 movies better than that movie this year. I really don't. I really don't. I'm frankly, I think it's a big miss by the Academy to not include that film. And then I also think the other one that I think is really confusing is The Lost Daughter, because it got nominated for adapted screenplay. It got nominated for Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress, which nobody was really expecting Jessie Buckley to get nominated just based on politics, but she did an incredible job in that movie. So how do you get adapted screenplay and your two acting leads nominated and no Best Picture? I'm kind of floored by that too.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
It's surprising, but let's look at the other categories here. So director, Kenneth Branagh, Risuke Hamaguchi, Paul Thomas Anderson, Jane Campion, and Steven Spielberg. And I have not seen Drive My Car. And again, this is one of those situations where it's like, this guy got snubbed, but I don't know who you kick out, and that guy is Denis Villeneuve. I just like, Dune was a pretty spectacular directing feat. The cinematography was beautiful. The mixture between CGI and textures, like natural textures, was insane. The lighting was insane. The production design was insane. Like that dude had a huge cast of all-star actors. I was kind of floored by that. I feel like that movie deserved it, and it got nominated for Best Picture. So I was very surprised not to see him get nominated. But anybody else? Are you any surprises in this category for you, Kirk?
I mean, that was probably the only one. I wasn't as high on Dune as you were, but you still have to respect the incredible feat that he did. Same
Yeah.
with Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Yeah.
It was a cinematic event, and if you think about what is possible in film and what is possible with bringing a story together and orchestrating all of that, and then making sure it lands on the screen to really be effective and get that right catharsis throughout, and then by the end of it, they deserve to be up there. It doesn't make sense anymore, especially now that we locked in with 10 this year, 10 Best Picture
Right.
films, but we're still limited to 5 Best Directors, 5 lead actors, 5
Right.
lead actresses. Like, what's the deal here? Like, we need to get our numbers straight, rethink our rubrics. There needs to be more of a formulaic approach to this than just whatever they're feeling that particular year.
Yeah, I agree. It's weird how often this stuff changes. It feels constant, honestly. So it's really hard to like put your finger on the pulse of what's going to be happening or what to expect any given year. And I feel like the voters get caught off guard with this stuff too. But I don't know. I think it's a good point. So let's go to the acting categories and then we'll sort of wrap up. So lead actress, we've got Jessica Chastain for The Eyes of Tammy Faye, Olivia Colman for The Lost Daughter, Penelope Cruz for Parallel Mothers, Nicole Kidman for Being the Ricardos, and Kristen Stewart for Spencer. It is worth noting, none of the films in this category were nominated. None of the actors, like the film that they're from, none of those films were nominated for Best Picture. That is pretty surprising. And when you go over to the male side, the actor category, Only two performances were from films that got nominated for Best Picture. I feel like that is wacky galore. I don't recall ever seeing anything like that before.
Yeah, I mean, how do you have the best picture but not the best actors in that best picture?
Right? I mean, like at a certain point, it's just like law of averages. It doesn't really like math out correctly. Like, how
Right.
did this result occur? I don't really get that.
It's rough. It's rough. I've seen 3 out of the 5 in Best Lead Actress. I gotta go Jessica Chastain. This is her year. Absolutely incredible. She's my pick. I know we're not doing picks, but she's my
No,
pick.
I like it. I like it. Honestly, my pick is somebody who didn't get nominated and somebody who I think is the biggest snub in I almost said the history of the Oscars. I can't effectively say that, but I think Rachel Zegler not getting nominated is insane to me. I thought she was, and this has happened at a couple award shows, and it baffles me. I don't really get it because I thought she was so incredible in West Side Story, like legitimately took my breath away. And I'm not just talking about her vocals. I mean, honestly, just a really good performance. And that film got nominated for Best Picture, and it got a supporting actress nod.
Right.
So
These make no sense. They make no sense.
on the actor side, we've got Javier Bardem for Being the Ricardos, Benedict Cumberbatch for The Power of the Dog, Andrew Garfield for Tick, Tick, Boom, Will Smith for King Richard, and Denzel Washington for The Tragedy of Macbeth.
It's solid.
That's how I would have done it. Maybe not Javier Bardem. I probably would have swapped in somebody else. But worth noting on the Don't Look Up train, no acting performances from that movie got nominated. I don't understand what is happening. I don't understand how that movie got nominated. It's only got, I think it got score, which like what? It got original screenplay, and then it got Best Picture, and I think that's about, and then editing or something like that. I don't know. It got a few weird awards, but I'm like, that is not enough to be a Best Picture nominee. I really do not understand it.
Right. The snub comes here, and I think we talked about this offline, was The Harder They Fall, straight to Netflix, the Western.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have thrown in several of the actors from there. It was
really
good
performances.
Lakeith Stanfield,
Yes.
definitely could have gone in there. Jonathan Majors, lots of options that could have replaced, could have been popped in there. Especially
That
if there
whole
were more
movie. That
spots.
whole movie got snubbed in every category. I don't really get
Didn't
it.
get a single nom across. It's nuts.
There's no way. Supporting actor, we've got, how do you say the guy from Belfast? Syrian?
I never know. And he is very much an Irishman. I will look it up. Hold
I
on.
apologize to him. Troy Kotzer from Coda, Jesse Plemons from The Power of the Dog, J.K. Simmons from Being the Ricardo, Cody Smith McPhee from The Power of the Dog, and then Ciarán Hinds from Belfast. So Jesse Plemons and Cody Smith McPhee both get nominated for The Power of the Dog. So far this award season, Cody Smith McPhee has been taking home a lot of wins in that category, and I think is probably the most deserving person in this category. Was surprised to see J.K. Simmons get nominated, even though he's great. I think that there were a lot of good candidates for this award, so that was an interesting category. And then Best Supporting Actress, Jessie Buckley for The Lost Daughter, Ariana DeBose for West Side Story, Judi Dench for Belfast, which is a bit of a surprise, but we both gushed about her performance last week on the pod. Kirsten Dunst for The Power of the Dog, and then Ingenue Ellis for King Richard.
Quick backup. I got you.
Yeah.
Ciarán
Ciarán.
Hinds.
Ciarán Hinds. All right. Got it. Thank you, Kirk.
I got you.
Neither of those categories fill me with a white hot rage like Best Picture, some of those Best Picture nominees do, but I feel like pretty good across the board, to be honest.
Yeah, not bad.
All right. That's Oscar noms. Any other snubs, any other surprises, anything you were like, oh man, I'm so glad this happened?
Well, I'd like
so
to talk
mad
about
this
best.
did happen.
Yeah, let's talk about best makeup, because this is something that I rage over every year.
Yeah?
No, I have nothing.
Oh, here's mine. And this is...
Oh, you really do?
No, I have one. I'm not mad about it. I'm happy about it. It's Raya and the Last Dragon getting nominated for animated feature. There were a lot of award shows where that didn't happen, and I've been seeing a lot of people talking smack about that movie. and I'm not about it. I will die on that hill. I don't care. And I know that you and I disagreed on that movie a little bit, and that's fine. But I'm pumped. I'm pumped that it got nominated. It will not win. I think Encanto will probably win. Though the Mitchells versus the Machines, I think, is the sleeper in that category for sure. That was really, really good.
It is.
And if it dethrones a bunch of Pixar and Disney movies, that would be pretty epic. So we'll see.
Right.
All right, that's the Oscars. Nominations are out there. The show, the Oscar show, is March 27th. So we've got a few weeks left to go to get your viewing in. Kirk and I are lucky enough to only have to watch 2 more Best Pictures, so I think we'll be safe there. But there's still a bunch of others, other films in the other categories that we still have to check out. But should be a good time. We'll see what happens. All right, let's jump over to the Super Bowl and all these trailers that we got. Kirk, which one do you want to start with?
Oh gosh.
We've got, here are your options.
Well,
Doctor Strange, Jurassic World, Nope, and Rings of Power.
I think we have to start with Doctor Strange because we'll talk about it the longest.
Okay, we're going to try to cap ourselves, though, because we're already at 27-ish minutes here. We got to be responsible. All right, let me pull up the Doctor Strange trailer real quick. But yeah, so the way that this happened, again, on the Super Bowl, they showed a short 30-second trailer, which had a few scenes in it. And then they were like, check out the rest of the trailer online. So the trailer online is a 2-minute trailer, and I'm pulling it up now. And this thing was a barn burner. There is so much in here. And so I feel like the biggest story here is that the multiverse stuff is bigger than what they alluded to in the first trailer, which we knew, but like they're showing a lot. Think about the Spider-Man trailers where it felt like they didn't really show, like they certainly didn't show all of the big things that happened in that movie. And so if you keep that in mind and you figure they're not showing us all the big things that happen in this movie, that means there's a lot of big things that happen in this movie because they showed us a lot of crazy stuff in this trailer. I mean, we got America Chavez, which we saw a little bit of that in the first trailer. We got multiple versions of Wanda, multiple versions of Doctor Strange. We've got
that guy.
What guy?
That guy with the horns. He's like a
he's like a minotaur.
Yeah, but he's like a real character. I don't know his name. I've just been like reading about him. He's like a real, like we'll probably see him in multiple MCU films to come.
We've got Mordo. We've got the Illuminati headquarters here, which is a Marvel storyline, and then the like Illuminati panel. You've got the like what kind of looks like, I don't know, there could be different versions of like Tony or Photon / Monica Rambeau / Captain Marvel. There's like a bunch of different mystery shapes and figures here. Like right here in this scene, there, like, who is that? Is it our Photon? Is it Monica Rambeau? Is it Maria Rambeau from a different universe where she becomes Captain Marvel? Is it Superior Iron Man? Like, the internet was on fire last night about this maybe being Tom Cruise as Superior Iron Man, and I was like, what is happening? Then you get all these different Wandas. You've got Wong like about to die. You've got zombie Doctor Strange. Like, what in the world is going on in this trailer, Kirk? What sticks out to you about this?
Literally everything you called out, all of it.
And there's one big one I didn't call out too that we'll have to get into.
There's also potential that the actual poster is actually smashing through Peggy Carter's Captain Carter's shield.
That's for sure. That's confirmed. Like, if you go online right now, and I'll post it on social, but there is the poster of the movie. There's a bunch of stuff happening around him, and not really hidden at all is like wedged into a piece of debris is Captain Carter's shield, and it's like 1000% confirmed it's her shield. Like, you can see it with the naked eye. You don't even have to really zoom in. Like, it's there. It has her logo on it. Boom, guaranteed. So that's a what if tie-in. Good call there. We've already got the Dark Doctor Strange, which is a what if tie-in. We've got Zombie Doctor Strange, which is a what if tie-in. So I think I think What If was the setup for Multiverse of Madness, which is something that we sort of alluded to, but we also didn't know like how much of a tie-in there would be. But the Peggy Carter shield appearing is huge, huge.
Right, because that brings her back and really solidifies her because you had the whole Agent Carter's, TV series that just didn't really work well, did not have a lot of success. And we saw her presumably in Loki for a split second
That's
coming into
right.
the TVA.
That's right.
And this is another chance for her to shine because she is an incredible actress and the character is very fascinating. And now we lost, Steve Rogers, but now we get the other side of this and what it looks like with her leading a band of heroes as well, presumably.
Yeah. And then the big thing that we haven't talked about yet is the voice. There is a figure. You can only see part of him. It's a silhouette. And I don't even remember what he says. I could have told you last night because I watched this trailer like 17 times. But he says something, and it's very, very clearly, no debate whatsoever, Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier. So X-Men in some capacity confirmed for this film. We have to assume that this will be a scenario similar to the Spider-Man villain situation where they are coming from the Fox verse rather than the Sony verse. Now, of course, the difference is that Marvel Studios, Disney, whatever, owns all of the Fox properties, but they existed prior to the MCU canon. So in order to exist in this world, you would think that there would have to be a multiversal event to bring them in from a different timeline because there's almost no way they could just be like, oh yeah, these guys were on our timeline the whole time and just kind of wedge those in there. They have to do a multiverse situation there, don't you think, Kirk?
Right, because otherwise, after all this time, why wouldn't one or two of them sprinkle in and we hear glimpses of them, right?
Right.
Even just
It
hear
would be
about
a little
them.
bit silly, yeah, if they did that.
Right.
So that's definitely happening. Professor X. And that's something that I believe, and I want to go back and get the receipts on this. I'm like 99% sure, and I'm pretty petty, so I will find it, that I predicted that whenever we were doing WandaVision, I predicted that the X-Men would appear in Doctor Strange or the Multiverse of Madness. What else do you think we get in this movie, Kirk? Do you think this is the big, like, first Avengers level event of this series, and that this is like a precursor that builds up to Secret Wars or something? Do you think that this is a scenario where they don't just use this to bring in the X-Men, but like, hey, let's throw in the Fantastic Four at the same time? Like, do they go that hard?
I think, yeah. Why not? Why can't Richard Reed sit on the Illuminati board up there?
He could. Yeah, because Reed Richards, like, he has ties to Kang. We've talked about that. Mm-hmm. And is an ultra intelligent person. So if there's a Reed Richards in another timeline who becomes, aware of the Illuminati and aware of Kang and aware of his relation to Kang, that's very possible, I think.
Right.
So
I'm just blown away because like they're smashing the structures. They're just confusing us all, and they're doing such a good job of all of that because yes. Like you said, what's the buildup? Is this like the Avengers? Well, kind of, but like not really. We're just going to confuse
it's not
the mess
an Avenger.
Out of us.
Yeah, it's an event. It's like the events that they have in the comics. Like this is
right.
This is an event.
It's like, what's the comparative? It's like this. So many things they've been changing the game. This is almost like, if we have to compare it, this is almost the Winter Soldier moment. We're going into it thinking we're going to get X, Y, Z, and then they're just going to flip it on its head and tell us something that we had no idea how to expect or process or anticipate it, and then some. Especially with just the story of what they can throw at us, which is essentially anything they want to. They can throw at us in any way they want to. I'm sitting here staring at the swirl, the whirlpool on the logo here, and I'm like, well, what does that mean? Like, it's red and blue, like, and a little bit of white. Like, tell me what you mean here, Marvel. Come on.
I know. That's like what is a hint and what isn't. It's impossible to tell. So the other thing that the internet was set on fire about last night was Tom Cruise, and I want to explain this because I think many people would probably be confused. So if you've been around like deep into the MCU situation since the beginning, it's been well known among the fandom that Tom Cruise auditioned for the role of Iron Man that eventually went to Robert Downey Jr. According to Tom Cruise, he was never really close to the role, and he agreed that Robert Downey Jr. was the best person for the job. But that immediately got people thinking, how could Tom Cruise be involved in the MCU at some point? And when Robert Downey Jr.'s character, his Iron Man, Tony Stark, died in Avengers Endgame, that started the wheel again of people saying, well, we're going to see Iron Man again because Iron Man can't be dead. In theory, Tony Stark could be, but there could be other Tony Starks. There could be different Iron Mans, whatever. And so that when they show that person that I said, who is this? Is it Photon? Is it Maria Rambeau? The thing that people are calling out is that the visor or the cowl has an opening to where the hair comes out, which is a distinct signature of, Captain Marvel does it. So it's not dead set, but Superior Iron Man also does it. And people are speculating that it could be Tom Cruise as Superior Iron Man. Kirk, how much weight do you put into that?
I don't know. I'm on that train. I saw a screenshot. I don't know how doctored it was. I saw a still screenshot of the moment that Captain Marvel is flying in there, and it looks like it has a mustache. I'm just saying.
What is insane is I've seen 2 enhanced screenshots of it. One of it, I'm like, that's for sure a man, like, because I believe there's a goatee actually. Right. And the other one, I'm like, that's for sure Monica Rambeau. So I don't know at this point. Like, it's like a Yanny Laurel situation going on here, where every time I look at the image, I see something different, and I cannot figure out who it is. But that would be bananas. Let's go through some other things here. Ralph Boner, do you think that they use this to be like, yeah, that was not Quicksilver. That's just like a multiverse variant of Pietro or like Peter Maximoff from the X-Men universe, and that's why that happened?
They have to. Whether it's in this or whether Wanda gets her own feature film, they have to at some point soon, for sure.
Yeah. Does Agatha Harkness appear in this film?
Yes, 100%.
I think yes as well. What else?
Vision has a flashback, or at least a
White Vision. That was the other one that I had in my notes. White Vision. Does White Vision appear?
He's appearing either in a flashback of footage that we haven't seen, or a glimpse in a montage of Wanda flipping through universes in her mind, or just his voice with new dialogue. One of those 3, for sure.
And what do you think is the significance of Rachel McAdams being back for this film? Do you think that it's truly just like a continuing their like very human story, or that there are larger plans for her in the workings?
I think larger plans, and I think it's going to be what's been buzzing around online, the Night Nurse theory.
Night Nurse, yeah.
There are 3 of them. One is, of course, Christine. One is of course Rosario Dawson's character from the Daredevil Defenders series. Of course, We've got Matt Murdock. We've got him coming back into the fold. So why not bring her in too? You know, I forget who the third one was. I don't know who the third Night Nurse is, but
in the comics, it's Linda Carter. But
okay,
which wouldn't be related. But
yeah,
we'll see, man.
I feel like it's that, and I feel the bigger picture of her coming back is how important she was in the What If series, for sure. Because they didn't do a big enough job, unfortunately, with Rachel McAdams in Doctor Strange 1. So there has to be part of that together, because Rachel McAdams is not coming back if they're not fixing her character in any way, shape, or form.
Yep. Final 3 questions for you. Well, it's 2 questions, but one of them is a 2-part. I keep trying to cut myself off, but I'm coming up with more as I go. Okay. Quick hitters, though. Quick hitters.
Yes.
Deadpool appearing in this movie.
Mid-credit scene.
I vote yes, and I vote in the actual movie.
Okay.
I think he appears because I think if they're bringing the Fox guys over, it might make sense to do it all at once in that sort of way. Next one, and this is the 2-part question. Does Hugh Jackman appear in this movie as Logan? So answer that part first. I'm on
As
yes.
Logan.
I'm on
Specifically
yes.
Logan.
Well, just him. It's Logan. Like, does Hugh Jackman appear as his character? Does he appear as the Wolverine? Maybe not in costume, but like as Logan or as the Wolverine.
I'm always wrong, but I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no to Logan in this one.
So then the second part of the 2-part question was, if Hugh Jackman does appear ever, do you think it's small cameo fun, or he's back in some capacity ongoing?
Somewhere in between. I think somewhere in between, because I feel like having a cameo, he won't do that again. You know, he did that once, and I think you can't do it again. And in Days of Future Past, he was full on back in the movie, like he was the central character. I think it's somewhere in between. I think he's a supporting character, maybe someone who's giving wisdom to someone else. That's where I see him at.
I think so. Logan was such a great send off for him, like the most beautiful send off. I think if he comes back in any capacity, which I am expecting, it will be a cameo, and just for the fans to have seen it through all the way. Like, here's our Wolverine in the big comic book universe, like we always wanted. But they did a great job with that character overall in those movies, and Logan was chef's kiss.
Right.
Beautiful.
Perhaps he rebuilds the school for mutants,
could be.
And he is the professor.
Could be. We'll see. All right. That's enough of that. We'll get into
wait,
something
I have
else.
7 questions for you, Cam.
And they're all 3-part questions. All right. Let's move on to the next one. I want to talk about Lord of the Rings real quick. I want to talk Lord of the Rings just briefly here. So,
the Ring of Fire. Lord of the
Ring of Fire. No. Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power. We got our first real look. So about midweek last week, they released, these, like, I can't remember, Entertainment Weekly exclusive images of, like, here are some stills from the show or what have you. And my reaction was, yikes. I hope that those photos or those images are just like, like not stills from the show, but are just like, here's a character posing for an image in front of the set, which I think is actually what they were. But now seeing this and seeing it as really like the first time back in Middle Earth since the Hobbit movies, which were, in my humble opinion, a mess. I don't know how I feel, Kirk. So I want to get your perspective as somebody who is like not super close to the Lord of the Rings situation, like, because I need a gut check here, and I need to check myself. But I want to know what you thought of the trailer first.
Yeah, so I thought that there were some incredible shots, some incredible camera tricks that they're doing. Even that big kind of gnarly monster. I don't know if he is someone that we already know in this or not. That comes out in the first probably 20 seconds.
He is not. Yeah.
Okay, he's pretty gnarly. He freaked me out. I was actually afraid of him. But what I have to say is that the look of the actors seems like too cool. It seems too
polished.
Present. Polished.
You mean it doesn't seem like a period.
It's out of the world of the Lord of the Rings.
Uh-huh.
Because I would even say that, when I look back, so I've only seen the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
The first Lord of the Rings. I've only seen that one. And I would say you look at that and you don't see that time surrounding when those movies were made. You see a story encapsulated in its world as part of the plot, as part of the honoring the books, right? In this, you got some cool hair. You got some of the wavy the girl's hair that's kind of wavy, a little wet. Like, those are styles that are happening now or within the past 5 years. So
Mm-hmm.
that part, looking at them, they're too modernized,
Yep.
um, which I guess their feel is like, well, they were younger than the Lord of the Rings, but it just doesn't feel right. It does not sit right to me.
Okay, so I agree with that. I think that there is something strange about the character design, and I feel like it's the costumes. I feel like the costumes don't look like how they should look for Middle Earth. And I know that the film series is 20 years old, and so things will be different, and I've come to expect that. But what really freaks me out is that when I look at this, I don't see Lord of the Rings. I see the Hobbit movies. Like that's what I see, and that freaks me out because I kind of hated those. I really did not think they were very good. And even some of the action sequences that happen in this, now like the landscape CGIs and stuff like that are good. Like I thought, the waterfall sequence, like I don't know, any of the like big sweeping landscapes that are either fully CGI or partially enhanced by CGI. Like I thought that all looked good. I thought the troll looked good too. But there's a couple scenes. There's one where the guy like catches the arrow in slow motion and then fires it back, and there's another one where the woman is like hanging off the cliff on the knife, and those both look distinctly like action sequences from The Hobbit. And one of the weakest parts of those movies where these preposterous, overly CGI, almost DC Comics like action sequences. I remember vividly there was one in one of the Hobbit movies where the elf is like running across the bridge and the bridge is falling apart and he's slow motion jumping off of falling pieces of rubble. And I was like, this is dumb. And that wasn't the only thing like that. Like there were so many. And what Peter Jackson was able to do in the original trilogy, there's just something like you can't even really put your finger on it. There was something that he was able to attain with the set design, the costume design, everything, to where it just felt like a really immersive, really detailed world. And this feels like it's almost too glossy polished to look like that, and like the characters don't exactly fit. And also, while there was CGI in the original trilogy and there were preposterous action sequences like Legolas sliding down the trunk of an elephant like after he shot it down, there were very few, and the ones that happened were like earned after building the intricacies of this world, and that was something that The Hobbit never got to. And I'm scared, Kirk. I have to say, like, I was all in until this week, and now I am officially scared. I'm scared.
I'm getting suited up to start watching the other two, at least. By your decree, I think I can skip The Hobbit, but I might want to watch them because even after I watch the other two Lord of the Rings, I'm not positive that I will still be as big of a fan. But maybe I can appreciate the wonder that they brought into the world.
Yeah. The Hobbit has problems because first of all, it's my favorite of all the books.
Mhm.
It was the first one that he ever wrote, and it was more of a kid's tale in nature. So it was a little bit more goofy, and I kind of liked that. They turned that book, which is shorter than any of the Lord of the Rings books, which were really just one book, but got split into three. And they turned it into 4 movies. Each of the books from the trilogy was 3. They split the third Hobbit movie into 2 parts. I can't. It had major issues. They added so much stuff. I think they're real bad, personally.
Yeah.
And if somebody wants to talk to me about that, I'm open to it. I'm open to the discourse. But I've only seen them each once because of that. I thought they were all below standard. I'm way into it. So if it's not working for me, I feel like that's a miss on their part. But
yeah.
Color me scared. Lord of the Rings fans out there, if you feel differently, please help talk me off this ledge because I am concerned. I am very concerned at this point. All right, next up, let's talk Jurassic World. Jurassic World Dominion. This trailer dropped earlier in the week to sort of build hype, and then they showed it during the Super Bowl. This trailer features a lot, including the return of Laura Dern and Sam Neill and Jeff Goldblum, who was actually in Fallen Kingdom, but that was such a trick. He was barely in that movie. They advertised it like he was going to be all over that thing. I mean, he was in every trailer and he got nothing in that movie. But they're all back. We've got dinosaurs roaming the earth, which is something they've been building towards this whole time, really since the original trilogy. And we've got our cast and a bunch of different textures and a bunch of different, the plot is basically like how do they roll this back? How do they protect the dinosaurs but protect humanity, or learn to coexist, or what have you? Kirk, thoughts on this trailer overall?
It looks great. I missed the Fallen Kingdom at the behest of many people.
It's missable. It's missable.
I think it was go see The Incredibles 2 or go see Fallen Kingdom, and the ticket holders at the theater I was at said, you got to see Incredibles 2, way better. And so
facts.
Since then I've not seen the second one, but this looks really solid. I mean, I can't say anything bad about this trailer. Oh, there's Sam Neill. He's just perfect. I just can't see how this doesn't do well based on this. Fallen Kingdom, when I saw the trailer for that, I remember them walking into the diner and just sitting down having a long conversation. I was like, this is not going to work. And it didn't. So this one feels right. This feels on brand, on tone, and it has Chris Pratt actually acting in it as opposed to brooding and showing off his trim body. And that's what we need. He's actually a good actor underneath his chiseled body. So show that off more than anything.
Yeah, I think the thing that I'm so glad that Colin Trevorrow's back, and I think that the Fallen Kingdom honestly was fine and was decently entertaining, but I think that it just really tonally didn't fit the rest of the series at all, and it felt very like inconsequential up until the very end where things sort of changed. But overall, it just didn't feel like Jurassic World was really great, like really fun. Really, it felt really scaled up and big. Like it felt like a blockbuster. Fallen Kingdom did not. This looks scaled up to a zillion. Like this looks like the finale of a really historic blockbuster film franchise, which is exactly what it is. So it should be high scale, and that's what Colin Trevorrow gives you. I mean, this guy, he dreams big. I mean, he does incredible work and has done great things. And I think they're going to knock it out of the park. I mean, I really feel like I have the opposite reaction to this that I did to Rings of Power, where like I was not fully bought in because I love Jurassic World 1, didn't love Jurassic World 2, and I was just like, I hope they're not just making a trilogy just for the sake of making a trilogy. But this one I was like, oh, I'm like way bought in now, like way bought in. And part of that is because I just really trust Colin Trevorrow to do a great job. So it should be interesting. All right, last one here. We'll go with Nope, Kirk.
Nope.
Jordan Peele, this guy, think about how young he is and how he hasn't really been doing this for all that long. He is going to have quite the resume by the time his career is all said and done. And like all of his stuff is super different. They sort of all reside in that horror genre. And this one is no different as I've sort of started the trailer now. But this is like an alien abduction movie or something. There's some sort of weird alien extraterrestrial entity happening here. And this, while looking like a Jordan Peele movie, also looks like something totally different. And there are things in here texturally, color palette, like he's just a visionary. There are things here that he hasn't really done yet, and you just look at it and you go, wow, this is going to be very interesting. Kirk, what's your reaction to this trailer?
Mesmerized. Absolutely mesmerized. What Jordan Peele's really good at is movement. Every one of the characters in his films, they move so differently than the last. I haven't seen Us, so I can only judge it by the trailer, but they move so differently than Get Out. When he was heading the Twilight Zone, those characters, they moved. They all had a synchronous connection, and you see these characters very clearly have the same thing going on. and I don't understand where he gets it. I don't. Part of me thinks that there's something historically that he is just like researching and just gets, and so he instills that into his actors. They're not spilling the beans for us at all, but I'm a big movement guy, and there's lots of motion, not like big, powerful, but lots of specific, intentional motion in all of his films. And I want to crack the code on this guy, but I don't think I ever will.
No, I think he really like the word visionary is way overused in the film industry. People call people visionary directors all the time. Jordan Peele is the genuine article. Like he is what
Yeah.
I think of. He's one of the top 3 names that comes to mind when I think of a visionary director. He is going to be a guy who, our generation of cinema or the current generation of cinema is represented by. Like he is going to be one of the guys. I really do feel like he's going to be one of the big hitters when it's all said and done. So
Yeah, and things from his movie will be they will be the influencing moments in new movies. Like you
yeah,
see some
yeah,
of them's like the shadow creeping up behind our characters running away. Well, that's very Spielberg. Like it's
yes,
your time is running out, right? You have these big sweeping explosion moments. I can't put my finger on it, but all of those again, movements are very similar to what we've seen from other directors do, but they're also unique because they feel specific to those characters. So they're a nod to the film as an art and its history and its successes, and then it's his twist and it's his voice on them. He's just so good. So
yeah.
good.
I'm stoked for that movie, and it comes out July 22nd, 2022. I don't know
Nice.
what the 22 thing is, other than the year being 22, but it was originally supposed to come out May 22nd, 2022. So I don't know if there's something thematically going on with that number, but just keep that in mind
When's
as you
his
go to see
birthday?
it.
Maybe he just likes the
He just likes two's his favorite number, maybe. Who knows? I'll spend the next 6 months trying to figure that out before the movie comes out. So we're close to out of time here. So I'm going to stop talking about news stories, but there's one last thing. The Oscars found their hosts today, so this is hot off the presses. We knew the Oscars were going to a hosted format. We've talked about it at length. One of the solutions we talked about, or the rumors, was that Selena Gomez, Steve Martin, and Martin Short, the Only Murders in the Building crew, were approached. That turns out to be correct. According to the New York Times, they were invited to host. They were asked to do it. They weren't just tried out for it. They were invited to do it, but it fell through due to scheduling conflicts. So what they went with was Wanda Sykes, Regina Hall, and Amy Schumer, according to Variety. So they still went with 3 hosts, but they went with Wanda Sykes, Regina Hall, and Amy Schumer, which is curious for a number of reasons. I think, first of all, why do we need all 3 of them? My take on this is Wanda Sykes is a bona fide comedian and very funny. Why not just have her host the show? She's
right.
been successful for a long time. She has a good brand of comedy that I think works for the Oscars and would work really well for a monologue. Regina Hall, I think, is fine. I feel like most people know her from the Scary Movie franchise and not much else. I mean, maybe I'm dead wrong on that, but I feel like the layman will recognize her from that and not much else. And then Amy Schumer, she's been off the grid for forever. Like she hasn't done anything in a long time, and she got accused of canceling jokes and it was or stealing jokes. She got
Right.
canceled for stealing jokes, I guess.
Right.
Which is a whole he said, she said type thing. So there's no real getting to the bottom of that. It's kind of like make up your own mind. But this is just a weird group.
Yeah, the Academy was so the organizers of the Oscars were so dead set on having a trio that they said, okay, well, the we lost the trifecta, the perfect trio. So let's pick 3 new people. Like they should have dropped one of them, even a duet of any mix of these women.
Agreed.
However, it had to be, if you're dead set on Wanda Sykes, it has to be her and the others because they don't have the showmanship that she does. It's just that clear. Neither of them would be able to carry it. It would just be like watching Anne Hathaway and James Franco lead again.
I was about to say, it would be awkward.
This is good. This is a mess. It's going to be an absolute nightmare to watch.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I feel like they should have just gone with one here, and I feel like I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't know if the public is going to accept Amy Schumer as like a viable candidate. I don't really know where people stand on that. I just remember that like I don't know what it was, 2017, 2018, all that stuff started coming out, and I don't feel like I've heard a peep out of Amy Schumer since then. So I just don't know how relevant that pick is. Same, like Wanda Sykes is great, but how relevant is that pick? And also Regina Hall, she's probably arguably the most relevant of all of these in terms of what they've been in recently.
Right. She has the most recent, like Girls Trip. It was probably her most recent
Girls
film.
Trip. Yep.
That came out, but like Tiffany Haddish, like, is she not going to step up and be in this movie, in this hosting crew?
Dude, I think she's like, get me away from. I think people are scared to do it or something. There must be something.
It's true. As soon as you throw your name in, people are going to research you like crazy, and you might get canceled.
Yeah, the Kevin Hart scenario.
Yeah,
I think
it's rough.
I think people are afraid of that. Anyway, that's what's happening. So I figured I'd mention it. I have no idea what to make of that other than what I just said, but I'm still trying to wrap my head around it.
I also heard that Don Draper himself, John Hamm, was
approached.
He was. I'm like, yes, please put John Hamm and Wanda Sykes. What a fantastic!
Oh, that would be fantastic. That would be hilarious. I don't know. He must have turned them down or something. I don't really know what happened there.
I mean, can you imagine like 3 hours of Wanda Sykes just criticizing John Hamm in like all different ways, like of how handsome he is, to overrated, to like dissing him from like where he's from.
Yeah, like what have you done since Mad Men? Like it'd be like, the jokes write themselves. I think it'd be great.
Oh man, it would. I think there's an opportunity to recast these hosts, hopefully like Sonic style, like the crowd, the public wants.
Yeah, everybody's like, nope, we disagree. Let's just try to find something else here. I'm for it. All right, that's all we got for What's Poppin'. Let's pop it up one last time.
Let's do it.
And I'm gonna hit the right button this time. I did.
No.
You want me to hit the intro sounder again? Let's get into our Schoolyard pick and let's fly through this. Schoolyard pick of rom-coms. All right. You're going first, Kirk.
Me? Okay.
Yes. Your first pick. Whenever you're ready.
This is rough. This is tough. I'm going to go with the rom-com of all rom-coms, 10 Things I Hate About You. Ooh. Heath Ledger, Julia Stiles.
That's a good pick. Anything you'd like to elaborate? I don't think you have to elaborate on that pick because I think it's like one of the goats of the genre. But anything you'd like to say about your pick?
Yes. Heath Ledger and Julia Stiles.
Boom. Mic drop. Okay. Now listen, I already said that I'm kind of a rom-com novice. I feel like I've only watched this movie category in a very specific frame of time. So if my picks are weird, I'm sorry. Don't hate me. My first pick is going to be My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Okay.
I love My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I think it's hilarious. I am in a family where like a large portion of my family is originally from Eastern Europe. So there's a bit of a, like, I can relate to that slightly. And we have a large family also. But the jokes are hilarious. It shouldn't be good. The movie shouldn't be good because it's like a bunch of nobodies, low budget, whatever, but it's a really endearing film and it's funny. It's about family. I think it's super underrated. They had talked for years about making a sequel. I don't know if they ever did, but
they did.
Oh man, I can't. I will not dip my toes into that water
Next
because
week,
I don't.
Popcorn for breakfast. We'll be reviewing.
I don't want to tarnish the original, but like, there's some great bits. Very funny, very heartwarming. My Big Fat Greek Wedding, number one for me.
My next one has to be a movie I always come back to, The Proposal.
Ooh, yeah.
It's borderline not rom-com because of how well constructed it is. I mean, you've got Betty White, rest in peace, Sandra Bullock, Ryan Reynolds. The list is deep. There's a big crew in there of just fantastic actors. I'm also always fascinated with Alaska. We get to see this setting in the constant sunlight era when they're up there. And it's really well done, really, really well done. The Proposal will always be up there for me.
What about a movie being well done makes it not a rom-com, Kirk? I'm missing something here. I feel like
Oh, the fact that it is 100% a rom-com, but 100% not like a classic film.
yes.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to put your finger on, because I think it has to do with the attitude of goofiness. In this movie, a dog gets lifted up by like an eagle and like carried away. There's also like weird, very, very nonsensical a seance of Betty White in in the woods that Sandra Bullock comes upon. Like very, very silly things happen in this movie, even
Yes.
though this is probably one of the more well grounded movies.
I feel like a rom-com is just a movie that is romance and comedy. I don't
Hmm.
feel like it has to be. I don't feel like there is a threshold. I don't think it has to be a guilty pleasure. Is what I will say. I don't think.
Okay.
I think it could be something that is genuinely reputable and not just for the genre. Like not just like how sometimes it's like, oh, it's an action movie, but it's actually like really good. Like it's actually cinema too. Like I
Mhm.
feel like I feel like there are movies that could fall in that category. I feel like my second pick. My second pick is The Silver Linings Playbook.
Oh, okay.
I would call that
Hmm.
that's a romantic comedy. It's well, technically it's a romantic dramedy because
Right.
there are some heavy topics going on in there. But look at it. It's wall to wall filled with jokes. It's a love story. It's your very typical rom-com love story too, actually. Like two people who don't have any intentions of getting together, don't feel like they belong together, but then over time, he thinks he belongs with the other woman, he's falling for her, he is denying it. Like I just feel like that to me, I think it was nominated for Best Picture,
It was. Yes.
but it's a rom-com and it's my
Hmm.
second pick.
Interesting. I don't know. I don't know that it fits there for me, and that's okay. We
I
can
want to I want to
disagree.
hear I want to hear from the people on this. Like I don't even know how to exactly ask this question, but I'm going to find a way to ask it on social media. Like, can something be a rom com and be cinematically sound
Yeah.
at the same time? Or is it just like, is it like Hallmark movie? Like, obviously, these are not Hallmark movies, but you know how like Hallmark movies are their own category or like Lifetime movies?
Right.
It's like, oh, this is the best Lifetime movie. Well, the best Lifetime movie would never be considered like a good movie. I feel like rom coms are different than that, but we'll see. We'll ask the people and we'll figure out a way to ask it and we'll ask it.
Sidebar. Speaking of their own category, we just want to let the people know that Bruce Willis received his own category in the Razzies
That's
this year
true.
because he was in so many films that were released this past year, and all of them were awful.
Yes. He
So
was in so many bad films that they had
yes.
to create its own category of worst Bruce Willis movie.
Yes. So Bruce Willis, you're winning at something. Congratulations on your new category.
I just read that and I said, wow, Bruce Willis really got paid this year.
Yes.
And
Yeah, he
and for
did.
that I say I tip my cap to you, my friend. Like
He's looking at Nicolas Cage. He's like, listen, he doesn't say no to movie roles anymore. He just
he's
goes
like, I'm
for
gonna
it.
be that guy. If the price is right, I'm there. I love it.
Oh
I love it.
gosh.
What's your third pick?
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Ah, yeah, that's a good one.
Off the board.
I mean, I should have taken those ones like first because I went with the ones that like you probably wouldn't have picked. That was dumb. That was poor strategy on my part.
That's okay. That's okay. I am a rom-com connoisseur.
Are you? I thought you said you have been exposed, but only in a certain area too.
I think there was so I was exposed to them, and then there was this weird time where I was on an action movie kick.
Uh
Like I
huh.
watched every action movie I could get my hands on. Um and then I was like, I need a break. I need a palate reset, and I went to rom-coms for some
Yes,
reason.
I like it.
Like coming of age teen drama is what I was watching, and then it led into rom-coms intermixed, and it got me in touch with who I am, Cam.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was a journey for you. It was a
Yeah.
spiritual journey for you. I like it. I'm glad to hear that. My next pick, I'm gonna go with Hitch, and I'm gonna duck. Like, is that
Oh,
so? Are people gonna throw
yes.
rocks about that?
No, that is
Okay.
absolutely one. Very nice.
Um, I really like Hitch, and like not overly ironically. Like I accept the fact that there is some bad dialogue, etc. But Will Smith is like all time hilarious in that movie, and Kevin James as well. That was like Kevin James's big spring into action, onto the scene moment, and
Yeah.
I think that movie is like really charming and endearing, and I think it's like a slightly different rom-com formula because there's like two going on at once there, and it becomes more about the like love expert guy. It's kind of like Crazy Stupid Love. I think they have that sort of thing going on as well. There's like three different love stories, but I thought Hitch was sort of a groundbreaking rom-com personally.
It was. I could not watch Hitch when it first came out because I was so annoyed by how, okay, the rules of rom-com, it was too silly. When I saw the
Oh,
trailer for him getting, having the allergic reaction, right,
yep.
to the shellfish and everything, and I was like, I'm not watching that. And luckily, your sister, my wife Aubrey, she said, you got to watch this. And we sat down one night, we watched it, and I said, I missed out. This is really good.
Yeah,
Really good.
it's a good one. It's a good one. All right. Your fourth pick.
The Wedding Planner.
Ah, that was on my list. I thought you weren't going to have that.
Au contraire, my friend.
I'm surprised.
This one, I liked the first like two times I watched it, and then I hated it mainly because of the brown M&M theory. It drove me
Yeah.
absolutely insane.
Yeah.
How dumb it is. But you watch this back, there's some fantastic things happening in it, and Matthew McConaughey on the list twice in this on my picks.
Oh,
by
for
the
sure.
way.
I mean, he is the crowned king
Yes.
of this category.
There's like 6 other movies with him in it that was his career. Honestly, it was rom-coms until he dropped out of acting, stepped away, and then he came back full swinging. So, yeah.
Yeah, if he's the king, Julia Roberts, I think, is the queen
Yes.
of rom-coms.
Yes. Do I know your next pick now?
No, I don't think you do. My next pick is should it be my next pick, Kirk? I'm scared.
Oh, I can do whatever you want.
My next pick is Clueless.
Nice.
Going with Clueless. I think
nice.
that's probably seen as more of like a Mean Girls comp, which you can make an argument that Mean Girls is a rom-com also. It's borderline, but Clueless is one that is hilarious and is a perfect example of like what a rom-com coming of age movie looks like in the 90s, and
Yep.
for that I love it. I love that it's like a time capsule. And it's kind of its own thing in a little bit, but because it's so embellished, like her character is sort of preposterous to an extent, like that. It wasn't like that's not reality in the 90s, but it's almost better that way. It's almost a better representation because it's that way in some ways.
It really
I don't even
is.
know if that makes sense. As if
It did.
That's right.
This last one is tough for me because I just thought of one. I just in this moment thought of one, and I was between. I'll let you say yours after mine, and then I'll tell you what it almost was. But the one I have to go to is Never Been Kissed with Drew Barrymore.
Nice.
My final pick. I mean, this
that was on my
one,
short list. It was on my short list.
Was it? Yeah, this one is up there with Proposal. It might be my number 2 out of my list of 5 of like rewatchable ones. And then right behind 10 Things I can't talk anymore. 10 Things I Hate About You directly behind it. But Never Been Kissed, man, it's so well constructed and it's very silly and it's got a big heart.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. It was definitely on my short list, and my short list was very short. It was an actual short list. Like it was only had like 8 films on it, and that one was on there. My final pick, I'm going with My Best Friend's Wedding. My Best Friend's Wedding. That's Julia Roberts and Cameron Diaz. And what I like about this movie, I think it's very funny, and I think there's lots of antics that are going on around it, but it's the idea that she is the maid of honor in her best friend's wedding, her best friend being the man that she's in love with. And the formula of this movie should not work because she's had her whole life to like figure out that she's in love with this guy and waits until he's engaged and then proceeds to break up his engagement and all of that. So you should really not want this to win. You shouldn't want like the plot of the movie to be successful, but you do. Like, I don't know why. It's because they do it in such a way that like Cameron Diaz is kind of a jerk and he's not really in love with her, but you should still be mad at Julia Roberts. I don't know. It's confusing and yet it works really well.
It is confusing. There's a couple movies out there like that where you're like, wait, you just destroyed their relationship.
Yeah.
But you have to do it in such a way that shows the integrity of their foundation was built on anything but love.
Right.
So that they came to grow like an understanding of some type of definition of love.
Yes.
But it wasn't what we all hope for. Like that sparks those, not necessarily instant connection, but definitely like an appreciation of someone that, yes, this person's going to care for me. I'm absolutely going to care for them. And there's no one I would trust more in the world. Right. So, but that's what you see through Cameron Diaz's performance. This is actually the review that we're going to drop later this week.
8.7 out of 10, Curtis.
Cameron Diaz really shows her true colors as she gets to know more and more about Julia Roberts. So
exactly.
Yeah, excellent choice. Absolutely.
Thank you. I don't think I did too bad. I feel like I'm a novice. Maybe people will have other picks. I'm sure there's some that people would be like, what? You missed this?
I'm gonna my other ones that I almost picked She's All That because of coming down the stairs and the whole movie. Sweet Home Alabama and 27 Dresses.
Yeah, there were some that I didn't pick because I feel like they are borderline galore. The Princess Diaries is one of those. I feel like it's like there's a love story in there, but it's not really like a rom-com per se. Like the love story is not the main portion of it. But yeah, so there's like I had a few that were somewhat borderline in
Princess
nature.
Diaries 2 with Chris Pine though.
Yeah, that's true. Could be.
I've never seen it.
I've also never seen it. I was just rolling with it there. All right. That's all we got. That's your Valentine's Day treat from us is best rom-coms. According to us, Schoolyard pick. Kirk didn't pick anything off he didn't pick anything that I had in my top 5. So I guess like that's my best 5 rom-coms. I don't know if I picked any of yours, Kirk, but there it is. No review this week. Reminder, no review. So on Thursday, there will not be a movie review episode. We're going to swing back and get you a new movie review. Next week, it's probably going to be Uncharted. We will let you know on social media if that changes and if we pivot to like Licorice Pizza or something like that. But the plan is to go see Tom Holland, Mark Wahlberg, Uncharted this weekend and to give it a review. And we'll leave you on that. And we'll leave you by thanking our executive producer, Ryan Spriggs, and the band Rhetoric. You're hearing them right now. You can also hear them on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Music, wherever else. And we will talk to you guys next week.
See ya.